Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Disha Vachher, who is partner at Matter Entertainment. How are you doing, Disha?
I'm doing very well, Stefan. Thank you. How are you?
Very well, and I thank you for taking the time to do this.
Of course.
Let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey and what made you join the business you're in, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today, please.
Of course. Man, I think nobody joins the film business unless they're very, very passionate about stories and storytelling. And I think I started cooking up little skits and little dramas since the age of like 10. Um, so I always knew somewhere I wanted to be around storytellers. I wanted to be in the magic of the movies. And right after my undergraduation, I joined an agency, um, uh, which is a culture that's slowly picking up in India, where we have agencies that represent actors, directors, writers, and authors. So I joined this company called Matter. And then very quickly, I became an integral part of the company. And I was a partner in the company very soon because we wanted to move beyond just representing talent into also producing our own films and web series. And today we are sort of like a content house is the best way I would describe the company, where we work with some of the biggest talent within the Hindi entertainment industry. I think a lot of people call it Bollywood, but we prefer calling it the Hindi entertainment industry. So we represent a lot of talent. We have access to a lot of great IP because of that. And we also organically like fit all the different pieces together to also produce content for everyone from Netflix to Amazon to even theatrical films.
I did see on your LinkedIn about your Netflix collaboration that you did last year, so
Yes,
congratulations on that. I'm sure that was a big move for you guys. And it sounds like
yes.
you found your interest at an early stage is something, a passion, should we say, at an early stage, and sort of followed that in. And you can tell from people who have a passion early on in their life, when they get into it as they get older, they move up the ladder fast. And that sounds like that's what happened with you.
Yeah, yeah. It was also a lot to do with the industry also growing at the same time that I came in. So I joined the entertainment industry around 2016, and I think it was 2013, 14, 15 that Netflix, Amazon, all of the OTTs just entered the country. So there was this huge momentum in new energy, new requirements for people, for content. So I got lucky, I'd say.
They say timing is everything, don't they? And in today's age, like content is currency, sort of thing for a lot of companies, isn't it? So, what does your role look like today?
So my role looks like managing everything and anything. Um, we I personally manage some of our biggest writers and directors as an agent, which means, charting their career growth, looking at what opportunities they should enter, looking at how to close commercially competitive deals for them in the industry, look at packaging them onto really good projects. Apart from managing my own set of few clients that I'm very close to, whose careers I feel very, personally invested into, I also look at putting together productions for the company, which means which IP should we really surround with great talent and then take it all the way from development eventually to shooting, whether that's not just finding the IP, but also finding a studio for it, finding a financier for it, and all of that. So yeah, that's primarily my the big roles I occupy. I think apart from that, team building is something as leaders we always have to do. And I hold that place very sacred. Is anybody that comes into the company should automatically understand our culture, understand what values we have within the company, and how best we can help them and their careers when they're just entering.
Yeah, no, definitely sounds like a bit of all-rounded things from looking after clients to more technical production to ethos of the company. You sort of hit an all-rounder. Different various of different things there. So I'm sure you're invaluable to your company, being able to rely on you and lean on you. Are these things that you've sort of picked up over your time in Matter, continuously grown?
Um, Sorry, the things I've picked up in the company
No,
have
so like
grown.
going from all these different things, so going from looking after clients to more production to then looking at the ethos of the company. Is this something that sort of as you've gone into the company, you've gained more roles? Do you know what I mean? And then they've been able to lean on you for more things through your experience. Would you say?
Absolutely. I think I started at Matter as an intern. It was just something I did right out of college. So I started with just reading scripts. That was all. How a lot of young kids start in the mailroom and start with their coffee runs. I started pretty much the same way. Is just reading constantly, reading material, giving my feedback, developing an arm. Um, and really exercising that arm to understand what kind of content does the Indian market uniquely like, what kind of content doesn't seem to work, how to build character, how to give feedback on story. I think what a lot of young creative executives are missing is years of just working with the material. Whether you write it or not doesn't matter. Your ability to assess material and give effective feedback is often underestimated, and that's something that Matter early on encouraged us to do, is really break down a story.
Yeah, they're things that you can't buy. Do you know what I mean? It takes experience, it takes time. Do you know what I mean? And it takes you to really be working in the company and in that sector of business to be able to, and production. It's definitely not something you can buy off the shelf, for example.
Yeah, and I think also just meeting people and understanding, eventually movie making is a very it comes from the gut. It's your conviction of what you think people are going to enjoy. You can learn a lot from interacting with people, understanding what cinema is working, what cinema doesn't work, and then making an informed call about what you like and whether people will respond to it.
Definitely, it's developing that interpretation of things as well. I would say is like how you run. So, Disha, what are the biggest trends that you're seeing inside the market at the moment?
So many, man, I think the need for content is increasing tenfold. Um, People have just had a shorter attention span, is what I feel. With 5 second, 10 second, 15-second video formats, vertical video formats, micro dramas, reels, TikToks, shorts coming in. People want instant gratification, right? They want to know the whole story in 10 seconds and then they want to swipe up and look at the next thing. So there's so much information and content overload that to hold attention is the number one target for a lot of producers, which is why we're seeing organically a shift from, say, 1 hour episodes to 30-minute episodes, 40-minute episodes, something really big happening within the first 10 minutes, within the first 5 minutes, so that the audience's attention doesn't divert to something else. Often uh, we joke within the industry that what we're really competing with is not each other, but what we're really competing with is that reel, or that influencer. Because people are consuming they've got 5 different devices going on at the same time, and all of them are giving them information. So how do you stand out from that? So I think that's increased, shorter format of content. Secondly, I think with the coming in of different tech, especially with AI and everything, people, it's really a pivotal moment in entertainment with AI. People are super excited about the technology. Everybody is trying to understand how the tech really works, how will it improve storytelling, visually, putting together a film. How will AI help in that? So we're seeing a lot of tech integration into content, AI integration into content. So that's something that's captivated the industry for the past a year and a half at least.
No, definitely. I see it across a broad spectrum of different industries as well. It is captivating and everybody's excited, but also not nervous, but they're also a little hesitant. Some people are a little bit more hesitant on how it's gonna, what it's gonna produce, and things like that. But also back to what you were saying on the previous thing, what you're saying about attention spam. You are literally competing with people's attention spams, because I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that when I put a series on. It's hard to get through that first episode if nothing happens, even though I know that they are setting the scene, they're putting these things in place ready for episode
Correct.
2, 3, and 4. But it is a monumental shift from how it was before. Do you know what I mean? And I think also series, 10, 15 years ago, people really wasn't watching series as much. It was more films, whereas now series, that something happens every hour you're watching it, type of thing. So I feel like it's a definite big shift in how we consume content and how we consume entertainment. Definitely.
Correct. I think the joke is if somebody has to die, let them die in the first 5 minutes. If you've got to kill off your character, just kill him off early so that people, that it's something that people like get shocked by.
And with AI, people, it is going to change so every industry, I would say. But where would you say so far that you've seen where AI has made an impact in your industry? Would you say?
Um, Huge, huge impact. I think Netflix just released one of um their AI series. It's called Kurukshetra in Hindi. And it is said to have been done with the use of AI. If not fully, then a large chunk of it. So it's one of the first AI-led content that's come into the country. Um, and there have been just massive announcements from big, huge theatrical films to web series. Everybody's gone into either fully AI created worlds or partially AI created worlds. I think there was a film a couple of months back. It was a children's film on one of our folk lores, one of our gods, essentially. And it did massive, massive theatrical numbers. The film was completely made by AI on a shoestring budget. And the reception has been incredible in the country. I know that our Western counterparts are extremely scared with the AI revolution, if you would. In India, we are really bullish on it, especially if it helps bring costs down and keeps quality up. Um, I think every production house is dabbling with AI at this moment.
Was that an animated kids sort of series? Yeah.
Yes, both were animated right now. But it's it's going to take us hardly 4 months for the first live action meets AI series to come together. We are developing something that's going to be in a similar model. So yeah, again, very, very bullish.
So would that be not actors? It would just be fully produced. The actors would be produced by AI, or are we talking real actors where they are, where they edit the whole thing? So AI.
So right now, the two projects I mentioned, the one on Netflix and the film, they were both animated, so it was all AI generated. Um, I think long term, the sweet spot is going to be getting real actors, motion capturing them, and then building the environment in AI. That's going to be the primary format for premium storytelling.
Yeah, I think that would be the perfect mix of having real actors, but helped with AI basically with the editing, the backgrounds and things like that. And you could be able to do this on like remember when they'd have like big budget films where they have CGI and things like that. It would cost so much more money. With this now, I feel like it's going to bring costs down for these bigger look movies, shall we say, down so it can be more accessible for obviously small, medium production companies and things like that. So it kind of opens the playing field, I would say, to so much more. So Disha, how does Matter get clients? So what's their client acquisition process? Basically, what's the normal process for you gaining clients?
I think by well, we're pretty established in the business. So a lot of our clients come organically from one person talking about the company to somebody else. When we reach out to clients, we're very discerning with the kind of people we want to represent. We don't want to represent 400 people. We want to represent a very select set of people whose voices we believe in, So we pick and choose the writers or the directors or the authors that we want to reach out to. Of course, the process is pretty simple. We talk to them about the company. We tell them all of the different things that we will be bringing onto the table. So you have to understand as an individual, your network will always remain limited because you're one person who's often competing between networking and creating stories. As an agency, our job is day in and day out just to understand who's got the money, who's putting that money into the business, and um, for us to build a strong relationship with them. So oftentimes our network becomes our biggest strength when we are getting clients on board. And of course, the fact that we represent some of the biggest clients in the industry already helps, bring in new clients.
So, just so I have a proper understanding of the business, so you would be getting producers, script writers, and then helping them gain work through different budget bits, people, having the budgets to produce the films or make the films, things like that. So, you sort of are connecting these two people together?
Absolutely. Connecting producers to writers, connecting directors to writers, connecting great books and authors to the right directors, writers, authors, just creating synergies and creating projects.
So, would you say that you have sort of like a database full of different people that you connect together? So, say if I was a producer, I'd come on, you could be like, oh, well, we have X amount of people in this database that we think you could work really well with.
Absolutely. I think it's, of course, there's always that's how it plays out. I think the crucial part is the producers trusting your taste, right? Because this is a highly creative industry. So a producer will come to us and say, hey, I'm putting together a young adult romance series. Do you know any good writers for that? And they come to us only when they trust that we know whose voice as a writer or as a director would fit that space very well. So it's for us to shortlist who are the right people for them. And then, of course, it's to connect the creators.
So, when you have all these different clients, how do you handle the reporting and the updates to the clients?
We have meticulous systems, um, and we maintain and update those systems on a daily, if not a weekly basis. Um, it's a joke that we have internally, which is that we've got our Monday coverage meetings, and by coverage we mean we discuss the entire industry, everyone from Netflix to a small producer that's just come up. And that sheet that we maintain is basically the blueprint of the entire film industry because we've got all of the points of connect on it. We've got all of what they're doing right now. So it's almost like a blueprint of the business, that particular sheet and multiple sheets like that we maintain.
So, if when you have to give the client updates, does that happen autonomously? Do you have that automated, or is it sort of manually? You're having to look through things and then give the updates or reports.
So what we're trying to do now with AI is we're trying to fully automate systems internally. Of course, we're trying to create, like I mentioned, our intention is to create a future-looking studio. And I don't think that happens without AI. And often people assume that a production company that uses AI only uses it towards the last leg, which is when they want to create a world. But that's not true. AI has to start getting integrated from as early as um, putting together updates for you, right? Or putting together client profiles, or putting together industry information and knowledge. Um, so yeah, we've tried to automate systems with the use of smart AI tools as much as we can. The rest we still do manually.
So, just you're obviously pretty AI integrated. My next question would have been: most companies dabble in AI tools, so and use them here and there. If you embed them into their workflows as a nervous system, how would you rate your company? I'm sure you're going to say high because of. So, is there any part of the business where you think I really wish this part was automated, or this takes longer than you perceive the value of it for?
I think right now, a part of the industry that's suffering a little, or actually suffering a lot, is deal closures. They just take forever. Um, Sometimes we've got whether it's an actor's deal or it's a writer's deal, it often closes after the film releases on occasion. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. People love negotiating, which is good. But the process is just very tiresome and long. I hope with AI, at least the first few rounds of negotiations or of lining of agreements could be more automated. But yeah, that's definitely a space that we could look at some level of automation coming in.
AI can't close the deals, but they can make it streamlined so it's easier to get to them. I think. Do you know what I mean? I don't think we're not at a stage where AI can be on a sales call, and close the deal, obviously. But I feel like it can do everything to enable us to supercharge ourselves and the processes to get there quicker.
Correct, correct. In fact, we're already at a stage where AI can help red line agreements, which is put together the first drafts of um, deals or put together the first drafts of editing or reviewing those deals. And then, of course, it has to always have a lawyer that's closely overlooking it, and then eventually, once they have a decent draft, closing that out. But I think the first few drafts is definitely something AI can do already.
100%, because I feel like it's so much more time efficient to edit a draft than to create the whole thing from scratch. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it might get it right first time, but you're always going to need human oversight. You're always where you are for a moment anyway to look over these things. But I feel like it can speed up so much by just having the draft and then you re-edit, and it's so much quicker than starting from scratch. So to show,
For sure.
where do you want to be in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of business for Matter?
Oh, our goal is very clear. We need to produce a lot more. So our intention over the next, definitely the next 6 months, and then the next 12 and 18 will be to bring more and more productions to fruition. Hopefully, in the next 18 months, we should have three more series that are out on a platform or theatrically. Um, yeah, so that's where we see ourselves going.
How do you foresee how you're going to do that? How you're going to, get these more productions than you have done for the previous 12 months?
Um, Again, it has to go back to the AI automation that we're doing. Um, Whether it's evaluating scripts, whether it's um, uh, quickly moving to pitching material to financiers, and then quickly moving to producing that is the target. I feel right now another thing that plagues the industry is just how long it takes to put together a project. There are creators oftentimes that are working on a film or a series for 7 years, 10 years. And that has to be creatively exhausting, emotionally exhausting. And our intention is not to get married to loving uh, the process, but getting married to loving outcomes. And whatever, whether it's AI, whether it's more manpower, whatever tools we can empower ourselves with to get to faster things getting to screen, those are the things we're currently in the midst of building.
So speed is the number one. Speed without sacrificing quality. I like that. I like that saying. Not marrying the process, but marrying the outcomes. I think that's good. I like that. So, if you could wave a magic wand to show and fix one thing in the business, what would it be and why?
Well, that's a good question. If I had a magic wand to wave, I'd fix how difficult right now it is for creators to get financiers. Um, I think every project for creators feels like this huge mountain that you have to climb. And hopefully, and we're getting there very, very quickly. But finding systems and processes where even a young creator can come and pitch a good piece of IP and very quickly have people surround him, right from financiers to producers to directors, so that that project can see the day of light or see the light of day quickly.
So it's all about getting the right people around to see the project at the right time. Speed again would be
Yeah.
in a
And
way.
also building the systems. Yeah. And also building systems that help young people come and produce. Because often, and this is true of any entertainment industry, it feels very scary and closed. It's I am a writer somewhere in the small village in India. For me, entering the Bollywood business seems like something I would never be able to do. Um, whether I'm an actor or a writer, it just seems so scary, and oftentimes it feels like the gates are closed. But now, over the past 5 years, I've seen so many people create systems, whether it's writers' pitches that you can be part of, whether it's collectives, whether it's film, um, uh, appreciation societies that you can be part of. Basically, entry points for young people to enter, which don't make the film industry feel scary and also allow for newer talent to come.
No, I feel like that can be done as well. Do you know what I mean? In time with building systems and things like that to give them more confidence as well. Do you know what I mean? Trying to work out how you're going to pitch this to this big Bollywood sort of film thing can be daunting when you're having to systems with, especially with AI and things like that. It's informing, and then you edit it to where you feel comfortable, and then in your own words where you can feel much more easier to pitch these type of ideas.
Correct. For example, we've got a huge culture of pitch fest happening right now, which means you can submit your story from any part of India, and you will have seasoned, really big screenwriters come and mentor those scripts. And then you have a 3-day workshop where there will be 50 of the biggest producers in the country, all under one roof, hearing your scripts over 3 days. That kind of access, I don't think any industry is giving that kind of access to young talent. And we're seeing so many such events crop up. So I'm glad. I wish there are more and more events like that. And even with Matter, our intention is to put those events together.
Win-win, you know what I mean, being able to supercharge that process for young talent, and it's also good for the producers, the writers, because you're then getting so much more content, or potential content, potential these things that they might not have ever put out. Thank you so much for coming on, Disha. Could you tell us where our listeners and viewers could find you if they wanted to contact you for anything business wise?
Absolutely. I am very active in LinkedIn. So please do reach out and I can share email IDs or phone numbers from there. I'm always looking for great talent from any part of the world. We collaborate with international production houses as well. Everyone from an A24 to an Apple to a Temple Hill. Um, so talent can be found anywhere, and I'd be very happy to look at any storyteller who has a great script.
Well, that's it for everybody. That's where you can get hold of Disha. And just to recap, we've spoke about how AI is affecting the production industry, entertainment industry. Also, where Matter wants to be in the next 12 to 18 months, along with sort of big ideas and how we can bring the young talent's ideas into fruition as well. So I think we've covered a lot over today, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and share if share this to people who you think will benefit from this. So again, thank you so much, Disha, and everybody else. We'll see you next time.